Hi, and welcome back. Today, we're going to continue working on the clip and try to recreate a more challenging part of it. This clip is a very good example that shows us how hard flat motion graphic could be, and also how working on the details can significantly improve the quality of your work. For example, in some of the animations, even on TV, instead of animating a character's feet and legs, they simply move him with animating its position parameter. You could say, even that is a style. In motion graphic, details are the determining factor for the work's quality. And during this course, you've seen the challenge on making the details. Okay, we've done all of this so far. This scene is very simple. Alright, let's start from here. The first thing we need is a blueberry. Draw a circle. Set the stroke size and then change its color to blue. Now for the star in the center. Good. Duplicate the ellipse. Go inside its transform and then reduce its scale. Then set its color to white. Now add trim pass to it. Reduce its end parameter. Now run the stroke lines. And then add dash. Done! Alright, let's start animating it. But first, check the reference animation. It jumps up and then falls to the ground. It keeps moving. Until it reaches here. Then it scales. First, let's start by making the blueberry. The animation starts from here and then continues to this part. It jumps out from the basket, bounces on the ground and then moves forward until it gets to the middle of the scene. Here is the start of the motion. Set its anchor point under it. Why would we do that? Because we're gonna use the squash and stretch. Open the Motion Tools script. Set its anchor point beneath it. Then move it here and then reduce its size a little. We start now. You need to animate its position, rotation, and scale. Add keyframes to all of them. Since we have both vertical and horizontal movements here, and since they have different movesets, it's best if we separated the position parameters. Okay, the blueberry jumps up and then falls in here. So we move the berry like this. First this position and then here. Okay. In this moment, move it by changing its spy position. Also, it slows down as it gets higher and then falls down with more speed. So we add easing to it. For now, I set it to 75%. Okay, now let's check it out. The motion is smooth, but I add easy ease again. Watch the animation. I think it's better if we didn't add the second easing. Good. Now for the scale. After the berry starts falling down, we should animate its scale. It stretches until one frame before hitting the ground. Unlock the scale parameter and stretch the ball. You need to decrease the value of the left as the value of the right increases. For example, if we change this one by 30, this one on the left must be changed by -30. It hits the ground here, and exactly after one frame, we swap the values. The left value turns to 190 and the right one to 59. Now let's check it out. Then after it moves up, the berry turns back to normal. Move it up now. Easy it as before. And its scale turns to normal here. We hit the ground again. Pull it down again. It should be deformed one more time, since we are hitting the ground. The last time, since it had more speed, we had too much deformation, but this time, since the speed is lower, thus the deformation is lower as well. For example, we change it by 15 now. We add 15 and -15 to the right and left values. Go back one frame and copy this keyframe. Change this value by +15. And this one by -15. It jumps again. Now remove the easing on this keyframe. Then it hits the ground again. For its last jump, we don't need any stretch or squash. Check the full results now. We can rotate it now, but why is that? Because our anchor point is beneath the object. If we try to rotate it, it will ruin the squash and the stretch animation. Let's check the reference video for now. Instead of the whole object, we rotate the star and those reflections on the object. But before we start, let's check the original video once more so we grasp the motion. It rotates by 180 degrees. Open the shape. These are the star and the reflections. Open the transform tab of both of the star and the ellipse, making the reflections. Then parent the ellipse rotation to the star's rotation. Now we only have to animate the star. Okay, the rotation starts from here, and at this point it must rotate by 180 degrees. Easy is the keyframe. Then after its second impact, it rotates by another 180 degrees. But for its third impact, it rotates a bit less, like around 90 degrees. And after that, it starts rotating continually. It has about 3.5 full spins. The rotation continues to this point. Increase this by 3.5 full rotations. Good, now let's check it out. Okay, for the next part, we can do it by both using a camera or scale the whole thing. But I think the original video was scaled using a null. The scaling starts from this moment. Press P and S while selecting the null. Go to this point. Then move the null here. Scale it. Adjust its size while scaling it. Maybe around 160 is enough. Move it to the right position. Increase the scale to 200. Or maybe even 215. Put it here. The last impact has easy ease because the berry slowly falls to the ground. Press U and select the position keyframe of the berry and make it linear. It appears that the original video has 4 impacts. You can try to make it if you want to. Let me hide the background for now. The fall is too fast, but maybe it's because the squash and the stretch. Yes, that is why, because the original video has only a stretch on it. Also, the stroke is a little bit bigger. Turn it to 10. It's too much, so turn it to 8. Alright, let's continue. Reduce the opacity a bit. Here we have some burst lines. Then a lock appears. Making the lock is really simple. It is made by only 2 circles. Draw a circle from this point. Set it to 10. Duplicate it. Move the duplicate to here and then darken its color. Good. Now duplicate the ellipse again and reduce its size. For now, I hide the other ellipses to set only this one. It's like this. Set it a stroke color. Adjust the size. Then a stroke again. Add dash. Round it. Now adjust the dashes. Use the original video to set and adjust the dash lines. We need another dash line here. Okay, let's adjust the first dash. Move it out so we see it better. This is the first dash. Now for the second one. And the third one is almost like this. Now let's adjust the gaps. Offset them if you need to. Set it like this. We have 5 dashes on the lock. It's okay if you can't exactly replicate the shape. Now, let's use a polka dot pattern. Import it. Put it here and scale it down. Scale it down. Reduce its opacity. Adjust the position. Set its anchor point to its center. Reduce its size. Now search and add the invert effect. Then go to the blend mode and use Shift and plus keys to change it. Move this up and set it to subtract. Move it to left a bit. Also move this layer to the right side. We can remove all the small dots if we change the blend mode. This one is better. Now for the shackle. Check the animation to determine how to make it. It appears it's animated only by a scale. Also, the end of the shackle is showing in this part. I choose this moment. Use the pen tool to draw its shape. Hold Ctrl and then move to outside of it. Add and adjust the points. For now, hide it. Let's set it fill color. Then the stroke color. Check it out. Now draw a line here. Add a point here and then another one here. Set its color to white. Remove the fill. Adjust it if you need to. In previous updates, you could simply click a point on a line by holding Alt or Shift and make it a curved line without using its bezier handles. Okay, the stroke is done. Now let's add 3 more dashes. Round them. Move it out to see it better. Also change its color. Adjust the dashes. Now set the gaps. Okay, set it color and give it a name. Now move the shackle to its place. Give a name to the shackles layer. Put the shackle layer beneath the lock itself and unhide it. I think the lock is smaller now. Go to Motion Tools and set its anchor point to its center. Set its scale to something like 102 or 105. Give the names appropriate names and then place them correctly. Now we need a keyhole on the lock. We can make it using a triangle and a circle. Draw the circle. Reduce the opacity to see it better. Open its Content tab. Adjust the size. Now add the triangle. Round its joints. Make a group here. Move it to this point. Round this stroke too. You must round the lines after you merge the shapes. Increase the opacity to check the results. Select a group and change its name. Now open its Content tab to set its stroke and fill colors. And done! The lock is finished. Some details are important for animation. Like these burst lines, because without them, the scene would be empty. But in this scene, those small shapes around the lock are not that important, and we can ignore them. Or for example in this one, you can only use 3 or 4 rotating circles. Or you can even use a few of your previous designs and just change them a bit. Okay, let's continue on the lock. First, check its animation to find out where should we start scaling. Press U. The berry starts moving from here and then rotates until it gets to this point. It starts from here, so I will add a marker to this. Duplicate the berry layer because we need the star inside of it. I call it Star Middle Lock. Then let's move on to the blueberry. Add keyframes to its scale. At this point we can't see it anymore, so I change its value to 5 and then I will close its layer. After that the lock appears and bounces a bit. You can use Alt plus close bracket to close a layer. Lock's animation starts from here, so turn it on. Set the star's position. The scale is good. Set its anchor point to its center and then set its position. It's a duplicate of the blueberry layer, which I removed everything except the middle star. The value changes from 0 to here and then it has a slight excite on it. Let's adjust it. Set the overshoot to 5 and its bounce to 20. Good. Now we are done with the star. Let's move to the lock itself. Open the lock's content. Move it to here and then select this ellipse and increase its size. Now for the other one. I think it's only animated using its position. Select the ellipse 1 layer and then open its position. Go to this frame and change its position like this. Then add excite and check it out. Too much. Change the overshoot to 10. We can also increase its friction to 60. Set the bounce to 30. Good. Now let's continue to the next part. Add some animation to the shackle as well. It only moves up and down. Select the shackle, add a keyframe to its position on this frame, and after 4 frames, the shackle moves to this position. Then it will move up until it gets to this position, so add this keyframe. Now ease these keyframes. Set its value to 75 and then ease out this one. Now check the results. It looks good. Move the star to set it exactly in the center. We need to deal with this blueberry now. Create a null. Copy the scale animation and then parent the berry to the null. Trim its layer like this. Also, don't forget to delete these 2 keyframes. Open the null to remove the extra keyframes. After the berries disappear, the star pops up and goes to the center. By the way, remove the animation on the star. Very good. Now let's move on to the key. How do we make this? We could use a round rectangle for the head of the key. Move a few frames so the key is standing horizontally. We can change the render engine for this. By changing its render engine, we can change the diameter of the shapes. This frame is good enough. Turning it into a 3D layer isn't so convenient. Alright, this is the first shape. But I will try to make this as a 3D layer anyways. Let's move this shape into a new comp. Press Ctrl plus K to change the render engine to Cinema 4D. Make this layer a 3D layer and then rotate it on its Y-axis. After rotating it by 90 degrees, we won't see it anymore. Now, go inside this Geometry tab and change the extrusion depth to 30. We should fix its anchor point now. Let's try something. Duplicate the shape and decrease its size. Try to remake the key's look. Now add a group to content and move the rectangles inside it. Now add merge paths to the group. Change the merge path mode to subtract. Now let's rotate it. Perfect. Alright then, let's start designing the key all in 3D. The only downside is that the project will be a little too heavy and will take more time to render. Move this to here. We need another rectangle, so copy and paste it here. Then move the copy to the right. Reduce its Y scale. Adjust its shape. Now we need to add it. Convert it. Delete these points. Now add merge path. And done. "3D animation is much more fun to work with. In 2D animation, first you design and then when you try to animate it, you will face several problems because in 2D there is just too many limits. For example, you make the front view of a character that only has one side. Now imagine trying to rotate it. You need to design its side as well. But in 3D, you create the character itself and thus rotating it is super easy. Alright, back to the matter at hand. For the neck of the key, we can make a circle and increase its extrude. I will rotate this by 90 degrees. Reset its position. Match its anchor point. Our extrusion is 30, and in order to move the anchor point to its center, we should change its z by 15. So, open the anchor point and increase the z by 15. Now it's in the center. Draw a circle like this. Then, turn the circle into 3D and from its Geometry tab, increase its extrude. For example, 1000. Then reset its position. Match its anchor point. Now go inside the custom view. That's too big. Enter the 4-view mode. Adjust the positions of the head and the neck of the key. 1000 is too much, so open its geometry again and change its value to 500. I think 400 may be better. Now enter the Content tab and reduce the ellipse size. Or we can keep the original size of 50 for the circle and instead increase the size of the head. If I change it to 60, I have to set its anchor point again, but turn it to 30 to make it right. Now it's fixed. Go back to 1-view mode. Key's neck is yellow, while R is black. We can use the Find Edge effect to fix its color, but it might not work in this render engine. Go to Active Camera View. Parent the neck to the head and reset its rotation. I just realized that the Find Edge won't work with this. Our best way to fix this is to convert the ellipse. Now go to 4-view mode. Then, from the front view, select and convert all of the path. Rotate the neck by 45 degrees. Rotate it again. And done. Now let's move on to the notches. Let's add it inside the shape too. Add the points. Add the stroke and set its size. Now go inside the Content tab, select it and move it to the right place. Put this point exactly on the line. Do the same for the next one. And done. Don't forget to adjust the geometry of the notches. Change it to 30 like the rest. Now, with all the parentings done, let's get to the animation. Move the key to this place. Check the original animation now. It takes too much to load because we changed the render engine. Open the rotation and position. Move it here and then rotate it. Don't forget to set its bevel type on convex mode. Bevel softens the edge of our geometry. Put all of them on convex mode. The motion starts from here, so add keyframes to position and orientation. Rotate it after 7 frames. Like this. Change the position. We can set the easing later. For now, focus on the motion itself. The key moves here. Adjust the animation according to the original video. What kind of easing should we use for this? Use the anchor easing from the motion tools. Then the key starts rotating again on this point until it gets here. Turn it to 0. Adjust its position. Easy ease these 2 keyframes. Now from this point, the key moves to the right side until it gets here. Adjust the easings. Also, I think we need to fix the interpolation. Select the keyframes and set their interpolation to linear. Good. Make a new solid. Hide it for now. Now mask it. Adjust the points. Now we should Luma invert it, but in this render engine we don't have Luma invert mask. Instead, we use Silhouette Alpha. Check it out. Now we can easily rotate this. Don't worry about the mask. To remove it, we can export this scene as a PNG sequence and import it again as an alpha film. We import it as an alpha film to make our project lighter. It's the best way to keep your project light when working with 3D objects in After Effects. Let's continue. Reduce the key's opacity for now. Check the reference video. The rotation starts from here, so press R. Rotate it. To fix this artifact, adjust the neck of the key. Rotate it by 180 degrees. It's a little bit on top, so add a keyframe and move it down. Then delete this keyframe. Why did I do this? To select them all. If I don't select all of them and then move it, it will only make a new keyframe. But by making a new keyframe, selecting them, and then moving them, you can delete it later. In other words, when you select all of the keyframes, your indicator must be on one of them to be able to move the keyframes. Press U and select these orientation keyframes. I need to adjust the keyframes a little. It moves here like this and then starts rotating. For this moment, when the key is outside the mask, simply select the solid and edit it. OK. Then we scale everything. So far so good. Select the key layers and increase their opacity. I want to change its depth to 55 to make it look better. Check the animation. The original video didn't have any motion blur, so we don't have to use that either. The animation starts from here, B and then Ctrl+M. Add the video to render queue. Select the PNG sequence and use the RGB alpha mode. Select the save location and save it as a PNG sequence. This is the main project and this is the key we just made. Add the key and adjust it. If the mask doesn't match, cut it from the key comp and paste it here. Remove the silhouette alpha and then select alpha invert. Now adjust it. Good. Hide the background video. Edit the key layer's position if you need to.